Hey guys, I want to thank you for downloading this recent episode from the podcast C's Get Degrees. This week's guest is coming from all the way on the east side of Ontario. Brittany Rothwell joins the show, explaining how fitness and mindset completely drastically changed her life and now how she is blending it into a business. So once again, guys, thank you for all the recent downloads from the podcast C's Get Degrees. Go visit Apple, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music today for all the updates from the podcast. And for all the swag lovers, go visit www.thechadmsmith.com/shop for all the updated swag here from the podcast Season Degrees. Once again, guys, thank you for all the recent downloads.
We hit a stone here. All right. So I'm just going to plug this in and then we're going to just keep going. She's like, oh my God, I lost it. All right. Welcome to the pod live. We're kind of live. It is Monday morning. She's in Ontario. I'm in Wisconsin, or land of cheese down in the States. Welcome to the show, Brittany.
Thank you for having me.
And I just completely hit the brakes on her. She's like, oh my God, why do I have to stop? He was talking about how we were discussing how the difference between people in engineering, and she went down her story and I'm like, son of a bitch, stop. So she hit some magic. So we're up and running. Welcome to the pod. And hopefully I did not lose that momentum that you just started.
No, not at all. It's kind of funny just having you ask me to come be on the podcast to sort of talk about fitness and mindset and just totally kind of take it in a different direction, just sort of talking about my engineering and real estate and all of that. So I was kind of just telling Chad how I originally got into engineering because I wanted to design houses, and I knew nothing about designing houses or what was involved in it. I just loved the concept of houses in general because my parents always built and sold them. And so when I got into high school, I kind of focused more my classes on doing engineering and realizing that you didn't actually really need to be an engineer to design a house, but it still kind of took me down that path into engineering in university, and I ended up getting into civil engineering, which was more like roads, bridges, all of that. And full disclosure, I ended up getting into civil engineering because there was a cute boy that said to me, I think you should do civil engineering. So I decided that that's what I was going to do. And so from engineering, I got into doing some consulting and stuff like that, and quickly realized that it wasn't something that I was super, super passionate about. It was just something that it was like that, like constant grind and hustle. And I was working in the construction industry. And in the construction industry, it wasn't just that 9 to 5. Like I was working 60, 70 hours a week, and it was just continuously draining me. And engineering was kind of perceived as this good job and making good money. And I still felt like I was really struggling to actually get ahead. And when I really felt like I needed that extra income, I decided that I was going to actually start working at a restaurant on top of doing this kind of 70 hours a week at my engineering job. And when I got into that, it was just that I had no energy, no motivation. Like I was just literally like going to my job for that like continuous grind. And I felt like I needed something more in my life to be able to give me that energy and like understanding more of like what would fuel my body properly to be able to actually like do all of the things that I was doing. And that's when I ended up getting into the fitness. And I continuously throughout my life, it was a lot of figuring out what to eat, what not to eat. And I tried like every diet you could ever imagine, and nothing just ever stuck. Nothing worked for me. I couldn't stay consistent with anything. And eventually I ended up finding this girl on Facebook. She just randomly had added me to Facebook, and she was doing a free 5-day group. So I was like, well, maybe I'll get into that. And that's kind of how it all started with all of the fitness stuff. And I had no intentions of ever coaching or doing anything like that. And so when I started doing the program, full disclosure again, got all my stuff, started to do my program, and I was like, this is just going to be another like total waste of money. And so I kind of talked to my coach at the time and said to her, like, I don't like this stuff. I don't know how to do all this stuff. And she was like, let's just focus on it for 30 days. Like, change our mindset. Let's focus on this for the 30 days and we'll see how it goes. And so I was like, all right, fine. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to do the 30 days. And what really helped me stick to it was that it was super simple, and it was something that I could fit in between all of the other things that I was doing at the time. And when I got to the end of the 30 days, I literally felt like an Energizer bunny. I was like, I had so much energy to get up, to go do my job. I was finding that I was doing better in my job, that I was still having the energy to go from one job to the other and still be able to like get up the next day and keep going and actually be productive. And when we got to the end of the 30 days, she was like, do you want to do coaching? And I'd never really thought of being like a social media guru at all. Like, full disclosure, I was literally about to delete my Facebook before I even started any of this. And she'd reached out to me and said, like, do you want to be a coach? And I was like, honestly, yeah, like I absolutely do. Like, I wanted everyone to feel like I felt and like be able to have that like fun group and accountability and mindset. And so that's kind of how my fitness coaching started. And I remember my first goal in health and fitness coaching was to make enough money that I could quit working at the restaurant that I was working at, because I was working for, I think it was like $9 an hour. And like, it was draining. Like, I hated it. I didn't want to be there, but yet I still felt like I needed that extra income to be able to make some extra money to pay off my student loans and things like that. And so I started health and fitness coaching, started like talking on my social media and sharing posts, and just really getting into personal development and understanding what personal development was, and changing, like really, really changing my mindset. And so as I was posting on my Facebook, I didn't have Instagram at the time. I was posting on my Facebook, and one of my real estate agents that I had done some work with in the past, she actually reached out to me and she said, have you ever thought of doing a career in real estate? I think you would be amazing at it. And it was funny because literally like probably 6 months before that, I'd actually signed up to do the courses, and I just never followed through with it because I got busy doing other things, and it was just like, it wasn't meant for me at that exact moment. And so when she reached out to me, I was like, yeah, actually, like I love houses. I love everything about that. I love dealing with people. And the reason why she reached out to me was because I was posting and got into this health and fitness. So it was just kind of cool how it all interconnected. And so I remember her calling me and saying, she was like, I pay for all your courses. I pay for like absolutely everything. And just like, it was like that moment where I was like, did I just like manifest this other like amazing job into my life through just changing my mindset and really like sharing that with people? And so I ended up getting connected with her. And funny enough, through my real estate, I actually got connected with my mindset coach, who has connected me with all of this amazing podcast stuff. So it's crazy how one thing can lead to another when you're just like, Chad and I were talking earlier just about how like saying yes to opportunities, like you don't always know where they're going to lead or what you're going to do with them, but it's just really amazing to just say yes and see where it goes. So
yeah, and we were discussing gifts. We'll just use that term. So as listeners know,
Canadian friends.
yeah, As listeners know, I have a very good relationship with a few people down in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And the people local here know kind of briefly what's going on because they're seeing on my Facebook post. But where she was saying, say yes to things, when you're open-minded and all of a sudden you start not drift. I don't want to use the term of drift, not that when people are like, hey, try this, try this, try that. You're going to be good at this. You're going to be good at that. And you just do it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like the highway starts unrolling out and everyone's like, hey, try this. Hey, try this. So like the last, oh shit, when did I move up here? July. So like from July to now. So what is that? 7 months, 6 months, somewhere in there. The same opportunities that you had kind of unraveled out. So people are like, hey, I like your story. Go talk. So here I'm in, guest speaking opportunities and hey, and I keep talking about a different friend down in Chicago. She like me and her were on the phone. I'm like, we're just blue collar people. I know my roots. Like I know my parents grew up in the mill. I was saying, my cousin's architect. So like we have construction in our background, but they chose the mill because at that time that's where the income was coming from. So like the 12-hour days, all that stuff. So like I grew up around that every day. And to me, kind of leveling up and working your way up the stairs, it's like we don't forget our past. We don't forget that work ethic, but also it's sometimes like a mind shift where it's like, okay, bud, you are blue collar, but you're working your way up.
Yeah.
Like you were saying that once you say yes, it just takes you down a different path.
Well, and I love how you talked about kind of like your family and family roots and like knowing, like growing up in that, like, and I was raised kind of the same way where it was always like you work hard for what you've got, but sometimes it's realizing those opportunities that we're being given. We don't necessarily have to keep those old adopted mindsets of what our parents had. And it took me a very long time to realize that some of the things that I was holding on to and the beliefs that I was holding on to weren't necessarily mine, but yet they were my grandparents or my parents. And I was maybe allowing some of those to hold me back a little bit. And realizing that I could kind of take those opportunities that were coming my way and just say yes, 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 and see where they go.
The best way of saying it's like a hurricane. Just stuff just starts spinning, coming balls up, and it's tough to explain everything that you do. But once all the yeses start raveling up and that thing just starts spinning, life and it's tough to even explain that momentum. But life is way different. It's a lot. And I don't want to use the term more funner. It's not even that because that's probably not even set up correctly in English how I just said it, but. The opportunities are endless in that hurricane of yeses.
I love your analogy of a hurricane. That's awesome. Just with even thinking of everything that like I've got going on in my life and you've got going on in your life, and just kind of figuring out how all of those things are continuously flowing together. And
when you find what you love to do, sleep goes away. It's not a magic wand there, but I could do this stuff 24/7 and sleep 2 hours a day, get back up and keep going. So
yeah, absolutely. And I've always kind of been the same. And I've had multiple people ask me, they're like, I don't know how you don't sleep. And I've kind of never been one to really sleep a lot, but it's always been that like mindset going, like always one other thing that I wanted to add to my plate and like go this direction and go that direction. And I know everyone has the term like squirrel brain, but like legitimately, I'm like, oh my God, like I just feel like I want to do like 100 things all of the time. And actually just recently being pregnant, I'm like, ooh, do I need to like actually get a bit more sleep right now? And so I've added a couple more hours of sleep, but I mean, your body knows, and when you need it and when you don't, and take it when you need it. But if your body is getting you up to like fuel your fire and go and do something, like listen to it and get up and do it.
My goal is just like yours, and I know you're slowly creeping away out of the engineering side of it.
Yeah.
Once Since I'm out of gas, and I'm sure you're out of gas, tell everyone where we can reach you at. And
yeah, so I do most of my stuff through Instagram podcast, but yeah, that's kind of where my main focus is right now. I do a little bit of stuff on Facebook, but Instagram, I just find that Instagram's able to reach a bigger market. So it's just my name. So it's at Brittany.Rothwell.
all right, awesome. All right, you enjoy it, have fun.